Welcome to another episode of Focus on Community Wealth. I'm Curtiss Calhoun, your guest host today, and we have in studio Kennedy Akinlosotu, who is a realtor and founder of Nations Realty. We're going to be discussing the organization NAREB and how to use real estate to create generational wealth. Welcome to Focus on Wealth.
Thank you, sir.
So tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and how long you've been doing it.
Well, I'm a real estate broker, so I've been doing this for 25 years. I started in 1996 as a real estate agent, and I opened up Nations Realty in 1998. We've been doing this, and we've been very successful.
Okay. What got you into real estate?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, in 1985, that's when I came to this country. And so in 1987, I took a class at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I met a professor who was a lawyer at the same time. He was a professor at one of my classes, business law. And he told me, he told all the class that, you know, you could buy a house with no money down. I said, really? What's he talking about? So I took him up and I started the process of getting a home. So in 1987, I got my first house.
Wow.
And I was making $4.25.
Really? Holy smokes.
So I bought that house for $60,000 in Reno, Nevada. And so in 1990, I sold it and I made almost $50,000.
Really?
I said, wow. I said, this is good. So since then, I've been buying, selling, doing it again and again and again and again. And so when I finished my MBA, I decided to help people. So I got into the business as a real estate agent. And since then, we've been doing it to help people, to build wealth.
Yeah. Wow. So when you said you bought your first house, you sold it, you made the 50,000, right?
Yeah.
So I just saw, and you said you've been doing that ever since, buying and selling, buying and selling.
Yes, sir.
I just got an article sent to me this morning saying that your first piece of property should be an investment property.
Yes, sir.
Is that true?
You should look at it as an investment property. Yes.
Okay.
And that's the first thing you have to think about, buying this house for investment and at the same time a place to live in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So is there a specific segment or demographic that you work with or with your company?
You know, with my company, I guess I started Nations Realty because I went through a whole bunch of hoops before I could get my first house. It was very tough.
Yeah.
So because English is my second language, the legality and all the other stuff going with real estate, it was very hard for me. So I decided to help people from different nations. So that's why we call it Nations Realty.
Okay.
And to help people with different languages, to help people to know that this is possible for them to get into their own home, regardless of their language. And I help a lot of African Americans, those people that don't even know that they could buy their own house. So we try to help them to get into their first house, the second house, the third house, the fourth house.
All right.
Yeah.
So then, besides language, is there any other difficulties that somebody might face that's trying to buy a house, or obstacles they may overcome?
Oh, the one thing I know for sure is our mindset.
Okay.
Our mindset stops us from buying a house. There's nothing else. If you have the will, there's always a way to get into your own house. So when you said obstacle, I think it's the mindset. Mindset is number one thing that is stopping a lot of people from buying a house.
Yeah. That's funny you say that, because I'm 49 and I have yet to buy my first house, right?
Okay.
And for my whole time, I've been thinking, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
My daughter is 24. She just bought her first house.
Oh, wow.
So she didn't have that limitation. Like you say, mindset.
Yeah, the mindset, we found out that only 6% African Americans are applying for mortgage loan. Only 6%.
Wow.
You know why? Because Auntie Tukwila was turned down, Auntie Deborah was turned down, Brother Johnson was turned down, Brother Mike was turned down. So we don't even want to try.
Exactly.
That's a mindset.
Exactly.
So my thinking here is that we have to change our mindset first, and then we'll be able to deal with the other obstacles.
What are some ways you suggest to help change that mindset?
Is to be able to know and talk to professionals, get education. I always send people to first-time homebuyer class.
Yeah.
I always tell them to come to my office. I will spend 5, 10, 15 minutes to educate them, and then go to a 5-hour class to help them to understand the process. Then the biggest thing is for them to take that step of faith. If you don't take it, nobody will help you.
Yeah.
You could get all this education, you could get everything you need, but if you don't take that step of faith, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, that's true. So how many homes have you sold or brokered in your career, you think?
Over 1,000.
Yeah.
In this state, because I used to represent Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA when they had all these foreclosures. Our company represent those companies. So we had a lot of listings, and we sold over 1,000 homes since I started real estate.
So with that being said, what are some like jumping back to that previous question, what are some barriers, real barriers actually, not just the mindset or things that we have, but what are some real barriers or obstacles to folks buying homes? What are the things we should look out for?
I think one of the things that we're trying to change NAREB as a whole is the policy. There are some policies at the federal level that are not helping our community. For instance, one of them is credit score.
Yeah.
Credit score doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because we African American, we're still making less than our counterparts.
Yes. Yeah.
So, for instance, a family who is making $4,000 and they pay $2,000 for rent, and they have 4 children. They have car payment, they have this payment, they have that payment. So guess what? They have to make a decision. So if they have to pay the rent, they will pay that, they will pay the car payment, they will do some other payment. So if the medical bill is out there for $200, they have to make a decision. Do I use this for grocery store or do I use it for medical bill? I think you would use it for credit score. You will use it for food for your children.
Exactly.
And so when you fail to pay that medical bill, guess what? It goes to your credit score. So credit score doesn't make any sense, especially for our community, because you have to make a decision. Making $4,000, $2,000 for rent, and the rest, you have to make a decision. Do I put food on the table or do I pay that medical bill? And so if you don't pay the medical bill, it goes against you as credit score. So we have to change something about the credit score in this country.
So then what are some, so with the credit score, then what are some things that we can do even though we have low credit scores? Is that a factor, like a major factor? Or
it's not really a major factor. What we usually do is to work with people. We've sold houses to those people that started with 400 credit score. We just have to work with them. We're not turning anybody down. But if you have the mindset that you wanted to buy a house, we'll make it happen. It might not happen right now. It might be 6 months. It might be a year. It might be 2 years. But who cares? As long as you are on your way to buy, we'll make it happen for you.
So just one more on credit score. What's a minimum credit score that we could probably get away with?
580.
Really?
Yeah, but 580. But if you really want all this down payment assistance, or you want the 1% down or 0 down, you might have to get your credit score to 620. 620.
That's still even
That's
like fair credit.
That's
like very good or something. Okay.
Yeah. So the credit score is not really a big deal as long as you are willing to work with professionals. You cannot do this on your own. You have to have somebody to help you, to navigate you through the system.
So would you say that's a first step? That's kind of was my next question. So would you say that's the first step, getting with a professional?
Yes, that's the first thing. That's the first thing you need to do.
And then what would be after that? What are some things that...
Then after that, you talk to a real estate agent, you talk to a loan officer, get yourself loan approval. Make sure you get an approval from a lender, then you get with a real estate agent to help you to look for the house.
So pre-approved, get pre-approval for a certain amount.
For certain amount. So.
Okay. And then how do you work with first-time home buyers? How do you prep them and get them ready for that biggest purchase of their life?
Well, I'll usually ask them to come to my office or do a conference call. Just walk them through the process. This is what you do first. This is the second thing. This is the third thing. We just lay it out. We set up a goal for them to accomplish the goal that they wanted to accomplish.
So I know every case is case by case, and you deal with them like that. Yeah. But what's some general, like step by step things that you can give us that would help us to understand the process?
I think the first thing is for you to know where you are in terms of your credit score.
Okay.
Because you don't want to go to a lender and say you don't even know how much you could afford, your credit score, or whatever. So the first thing I always tell people, go ahead and use a Credit Karma. Check your credit yourself. There's so many programs out there you could check your credit and see where you are. Yeah. And then you could call a professional, real estate agent, loan officer, and say, look, I would like to buy a house, or I would like to do this. Then you start from there. It's one step at a time.
Okay. So you do the teaching, but then you're also the agent as well, so you can help them.
Oh, yeah. That's what we do. We help them to look for the house. What we do personally in our office, as a real estate professional, I always look for a good place, a good program that could get them into their own home. Because I could show you a lot of houses, but if you don't have the program, the money to be able to buy the house, it's a waste of time. So usually we have different programs in our office. We know different programs, and we send you to the right place to start your process of buying a house or getting a loan.
Yeah. So I know the Fed just lowered the rate yesterday, the interest rate, right?
Yeah.
So is it a good time to buy a house now? What's the market like for maybe first-time home buyers or somebody looking to buy?
I think it's always a good time for first-time home buyer. As long as you need a place to live in, I think it's always a good time to buy a house. Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Now, if you're doing investment, that's when you have to analyze. Make sure you are not getting yourself in trouble.
Okay.
But guess what? If you are living in an apartment, you should get a house anytime. It's a good time for first-time home buyer.
Then now let's talk about your organization that you represent, NAREB. What does NAREB stand for, and then what's kind of the purpose of the organization?
Oh, wow. I'm glad that you asked that question. National Association of Real Estate Brokers. That's the meaning of NAREB. This organization started in 1947.
Wow.
And the reason that 12 people started it in Tampa, Florida, they started it because there was an organization at that time. It's called NAR, National Association of Realtors. It's mostly for Caucasians. And they won't allow African Americans to get into that organization. So if you are not in that organization, you cannot show houses. You cannot help your community.
Gotcha.
So these guys were tired of it. They started this organization called NAREB in 1947. And since then, we've been around. We started the local chapter 2011 just to help our community. And the most important thing is democracy in housing, to help our people to understand there's a way for them to buy a house.
And you say local chapter here, Seattle,
it's called
Washington,
Washington's Puget Sound area. It's called Western Washington Realtors. So we started it 2011, and it's been going very well.
Okay. So I know you have a wealth building event coming up soon.
Yes.
September 28th, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and where that'll be and the times?
Okay. We will do this. Is in Tukwila Community Center, and it's gonna be from 10 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The most important thing is for people to come there and get information, to get some education about how to buy a home. So you'll be meeting with credit repair people, the loan officers, real estate agents, insurance company, and all the other people that could help you, that will speak directly about the process of buying a house.
So I know it may seem obvious, but who should attend?
If you don't have a house, come to that event. I know it's sometimes people don't want to take time off. They say, I'm busy. Some people are working two jobs, 3 jobs in the last 20 years, and they don't have savings. Buying a house is the best way to build wealth. And that's what we'll be talking about in our event on the 28th of September from 10 to 2. So if you don't have a house, this is the place to be.
Okay. So to motivate or inspire some people, what should an attendee walk away with, or what are the benefits of a person who would attend?
Well, at least you will know where you are. because we could check your credit. We could tell you what you qualify for. There's going to be pre-qualification and different things that will be going on because you will meet the loan officer, the credit repair guys, and some other people that will tell you where you are. They will tell you the truth.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So then why is this event important to the African or African American community?
It's very, very important because we just found out that the number of people in our community that own homes just went down from 42.3% down to 40.6%. That's very sad. Yeah. Especially there's no Jim Crow anymore. Yeah. There's no redlining. There's no law that stop us from buying a house. Why are we not buying? Yeah. So we will be talking about the process of buying a house and just to encourage our community that it is possible for them to own their own home. They don't have to sit at the back of the bus anymore. Yeah. We are free to sit in front of the bus. We are free to be a homeowner. We are free to be the landlord.
Good. So then, with that being said, so that number that you mentioned, the 40.6, right? That hasn't changed much since 1965, right?
Well, it was up before. In 2004, I think it was 48%, 49%.
Oh, okay.
It just kept going down.
Okay.
You know why? Because of some policies. And that's why NAREB is working so hard at the federal level to help change some policies and support some policies that will help our community.
Okay. Is there anything that we haven't discussed today that you feel would be important for our listeners to know about?
Well, I think it's very important for our people to know that they need to think about buying their own home. Because right now, a lot of people are spending close to 60% or 50% of their income on rent. That's slavery, man. That's another way to enslave us. Yes. And we'll keep doing this over and over again. But once you get your own house, this will force you to save money, to build wealth for your family, a legacy that will help you and your family. So my thinking here is that we have a lot of programs. NAREB just came up with 3 things. Actually, there's a movement now. We want to have 2 million African Americans into their own homes in the next 5 years. That's a big movement. Yeah. It's like a civil rights movement. Yeah. But this is economic movement. Yeah. And we are here to help them. There are 3 things that we are doing. We're trying to focus on churches and pastors to help us to get this message to their people. The pastors, we know for sure that they will be able to talk about homeownership and help their congregation to know, to be aware that there are so many help out there for them to get into their own home. The second thing that we are doing is civic engagement. We want to go to the fraternities, sororities, and all the other organizations to communicate with these people that this is a good time to buy. You don't have to rent. Then there's a thing that just came up now. It's called House, Then the Car. We want people, especially the Gen X and the millennials, to understand that it's better for them to buy a house instead of a car. They could buy a house, they could rent a car, but buy a house instead of buying a car and rent a house. So we want to change that. Our goal is to make sure that all the millennials and the Gen X know how to buy instead of renting a place.
So that's one thing we kind of haven't touched bases on is generational wealth and how to use real estate as that. I hear that's like the number one way to create generational wealth. Can you talk a little bit about that?
For instance, I will give you an example. There was a guy that we helped in our office in 2017. He was making $11 an hour. His wife was making $9.50 an hour, and they were living in Everett. It's so funny. So when they came to my office, it was very hard. $11, $9.50 an hour, and they were paying $1700 a every month on rent, 2-bedroom, 1 bath in Everett.
Yeah.
So we decided to work with them. We showed them houses from Everett all the way to Tacoma.
Yeah.
Finally, we got them into a house for $160,000.
Wow.
And then they only put down zero. Zero.
Yeah.
And now the same house that they bought for $160 in April of 2017 is now $360,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's a real case.
Yeah.
That the difference between the purchase price 160 and 360 is almost 200,000.
Yeah.
That is the equity.
Wow. In 2 years.
In 2 years. So this guy could go out now, turn around, sell that house, or take some money out, start a business, use part of the money to pay for their college education, do all kinds of stuff with that equity, which is almost 200,000.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a real case.
Yeah.
Now, this guy is still making $11 an hour. The wife is still making $9.50.
Yeah.
Guess what? Their payment on 160 is now $1,050.
$1,050?
$50. That's it in Tacoma.
Yeah.
But they were willing to move from Everett to Tacoma just to get their own place.
Yeah.
Now they're living in 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, and they already made almost $200,000 equity within 2 years. That's real case. And that's how to build generational wealth. And I told the guy, if you want to take money out and buy you another one and do it again and do it again, he can do it. And that's how to build wealth.
And these are some of the things that people will hear and learn about on the 28th.
Yeah, on the 28th. We will give them step by step as to how to do it.
And so can you give us that information one more time just so everybody has it?
It's going to be 28 in Tukwila Community Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And we have King, of course, the president for Black Dot, will be there to speak. And some other guys will be speaking on that day.
Okay, great. Well, Kennedy, thank you for stopping by the studios today and sharing this information with us. We appreciate you being on focus on the community wealth.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you, my brother.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.